Welcome back to the Audible Angle. It's going to be an exciting night full of predictions and other shenanigans. I want to start off, though, with a quick address to some listeners. Had some questions come up this week. And a little shout out to Special K in St. Paul. Appreciate you listening. Try to subscribe on all platforms like everybody. We're actually, 50 subscribers. That's not a big deal. We'd like to get there quick. We got more viewers than that. So just subscribe and see how this ride goes with us a little bit. And just addressing comments on any platform, there's some questions on, do we like negative comments or positive comments? And I'll tell you what, let us have it. Either way, give it to us hard. And it seems like Bears fans if they've gotten that message, they're not afraid to rattle the cage a little bit. But anybody, jump in. We have moved up. I did just refresh here. We're 11 spots from the bottom on the worst ever podcast rating. So we continue to climb. So good comments, bad comments, suggestions. But we had a Ole Miss guy getting worked up during the game and was trying to respond live. I might still try to track you down. So if you listen again, love to have you on because we want to hear it. We're basically fans, expert fans, some might say, some say, but we'd love to get other fan perspectives on here. Urbs, the other question that came up was, what the hell is this? What is the Audible Angle? And I figured, you're a sales guy, sales leader of sales, men and women. Give us the old cliched elevator speech. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm glad that came in from whomever it came from into your avenue there, Dilly. But who is Audible Angle? Well, the Audible Angle, the co-hosts are myself and Dilly, two high school buddies. Well, probably before high school. We are childhood buddies that kind of hooked up here through our different tribulations through life. And we like to talk sports. So the Audible Angle is primarily about sports, but we're much more than that. You're going to get a heavy dose of the Green Bay Packers during Packer season. You're going to get a heavy dose of some college basketball that we're going to skip to once the World Cup rolls around. We can talk soccer and we'll talk soccer. We're broadening our horizons as well here in the near future. We are very serious about local sports, D3 sports, local high school basketball, local high schools football, hockey, you name it. We're interested in it. We'll dabble in almost anything. We'll talk about curling. We'll try to get some coaches on. We always look at insiders, outsiders, all kinds of good stuff that's coming up here on the Audible Angle. And quite frankly, we're also going to touch on some outdoor stuff. So if you're a duck hunter, if you're a deer hunter, turkey hunter, anything, a fisherman, fisherwoman, we've got it all for you, a little bit of everything. We'll go from there. There's my 30-second elevator pitch on Audible Angle.
The only thing I'll add, and I'm a little bit more of a marketing guy, so I can go long form because I'm not actually executing the sale a lot of the time. I would add that it's essentially it boils down to stuff we're interested in, and as Irby mentioned, like, the whole short end of the ride with River Falls that piqued our interest in Division III football and the WEAC and other Division III sports. Reaching out, I know you guys can see Drewzy on the show today. He's got some D3, D2 connections in Minnesota. And, it's hard to pack it all in, especially during the NFL season, but we really do expect to have athletic directors, coaches, fans, that kind of alumni from a lot of different sporting venues on, and look forward to that. One last piece of business before we start off with the 49ers and Seahawks breakdown. Drewzy, last episode you were on, there's a little controversy. Some people suggested that I might owe you an apology because I asked you to recap the first two Bears-Vikings games and then admonished you harshly for talking about the Bears and Vikings because obviously we're talking about this is before the Packers-Bears playoff game. And, to people expecting an apology, I'll just say this. You guys don't get it. All right. Urbs and I are trying to build a strong show with strong guests. So that, of course, was in the script. Drewzy, here's the deal. If you hear something, say something. If something isn't made, we're trying to build you up. to believe in you. I mean, you looked confused, like, why is he asking me? Like, yeah, speak up. You're able to contribute more than just, you know, answer the questions we serve up to you.
I totally understand, and I thought it was a brilliant setup by you, Dilly. I thought you were gonna get my take on the Bears Vikings, and then we would quickly, pivot to Bears Packers, and so you wanted to get my take on it. And by the way, I got about 15 seconds from the end of my spiel when you finally exploded at me, which was the greatest part about the whole thing, because I got to the Devin Duvernay kickoff, which was with about 13 seconds left in the game, which was the best part about the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
here's
tell
the
you what.
deal. Here's the deal, Drewzy. Basically, what Billy is telling you is don't listen to what he says because he's not asking you to ask any questions. That's clear. That was clear on
Yep.
episode 1.
Episode 1.
He's also asking you not to listen to him, but to know what he means when you don't listen to him. So read his brain. I've been on a few episodes. I think we're 25 into this episode. You just have to know what what he is thinking, and don't worry about
Yeah.
what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds
Yeah.
simple enough.
49ers of San Francisco traveling to Seattle. Divisional foe. Seattle favored by 7 points. Not a lot of betting indicators on my source of information. A little bit bigger money coming in on the Seahawks. And I'm going to toss this one back up to Drewzy first. And we can recap. I don't think we're going to recap the games other than, as you talk about the 49ers, we can recap their game. Seahawks obviously didn't have one, but incorporate what you saw from the 49ers and what you see in this game. And then we'll come back around with the final picks to make those easier to clip together.
Yeah, sure. Quick recap. 49ers against Philly. Solid performance by San Francisco. I think they gutted it out. They're starting to get a little bit injured. We'll get into that when we start talking about the picks. But rode their horses. I mean, McCaffrey was outstanding. I thought Purdy played great, particularly in the second half. But I'll be perfectly honest, I wasn't a huge fan of Philly going into this game. I thought, they kind of won a barf division, and I think they got it handed to them by San Francisco, and San Francisco deserved to win that game. Philly was typical bad offense. Philly in the second half, and they deserve to win. And so interesting matchup now, again, with some injuries stacking up. I think that's a key part of this game. Going into Seattle, which is a typically hostile place to play, particularly when it comes to the playoffs. Definitely looking forward to this game.
Urbs, I've been waffling on the Niners for 14 weeks. I thought they actually weren't good. And then I finally conceded, even with all their injuries and stuff. I was like, well, they must be good. And then a week went by and I was kind of going back to they're no good. So they've been dealing with this injury stuff all year long. Kittle's down. And, does it matter that, certainly it matters that Kittle is hurt, but is it Tongas? He's played all year. Kittle's kind of been hurt all year anyway. All they do is overcome injuries. What's the up-to-date thoughts on San Francisco holding it together?
I certainly think that the season would tell you that the 49ers are capable of holding it together, right? I do think I'll answer your question a little bit on Kittle. And here's the deal. I don't think it matters with him out. Okay? And that for the exact reason that you said. I don't think that that's going to hurt the 49ers, especially with their healthier wide receiving core that they have today. I think it hurt them in the middle of the season when Kittle was out because they didn't have as many. Ricky Pearsall was injured, or they had different injuries at the wide receiving core. Now, the reason that I would say it would matter, because it matters if he was playing. And it makes sense that he's another dynamic scorer in a good, comfortable throw for Purdy. But I don't think they've shown throughout the season that they don't necessarily need Kittle to win. It would help. But I think that with CMC, as long as, Dilly, here's my caveat on the 49ers, as long as that as Purdy plays well, the 49ers will play well. And you've seen that throughout the season. I'm not Nostradamus in this. When Purdy throws it to the wrong team, the 49ers are going to struggle, right? And they don't have a lot of answers outside of him being pinpoint accurate. The good news is for most of the year, he was bad in maybe 2 or 3 games that you've probably watched in prime time. But when he's good, he's really good and better than serviceable. The other reason that I'll give you is the defense is a question mark for me. I think there's a Robert Saleh effect here on the 49ers defense, that they've been kind of overachieving with some guys that they've had out. Doesn't sound like Fred Warner is going to play now. He's out. He might come in the next round if they win. But I think that the 49ers will be well prepared for the Seahawks. And I think I have more of a question mark, to be honest, and maybe we can circle back to this with today's news with Sam Darnold and that new oblique injury. I think there's a question mark there. We know obliques affect players a great deal. That's a new injury. He's going to go, but how well is he going to go? And we know the same as Purdy, a bad Darnold, Drewzy, maybe you can speak better to this. A bad Darnold is a bad Darnold, but a good one is pretty serviceable.
Let me jump in here before we let Drewzy take us through the Darnold escapades. As you were talking, it made me think, again, we're a little Packers centric. It made us think of the Packers a little bit, where I think in the lead up to the playoff game, we're saying, we're healthy enough and we're getting more healthy. That was under the assumption a guy like Zach Tom was going to play. And we had been feeling like the Packers were healthy enough, but really zero margin for error for any injuries. I don't think Wicks being out mattered that much, but I think Tom mattered that much. I think the Niners, because they've overcome it all year, but going in without Kittle, it removes any margin of error they have. I don't think they can absorb. Pearsall is a guy that gets banged up a lot. Although I like Demarcus Robinson showed up after being pretty anonymous all season. They have some other guys that can play. Juszczyk can make a play here and there. But yeah, I just think I think they can hold up. It's just a matter of, if one thing goes wrong, Trent Williams has to play. If he gets nicked up again, anything like that, it's just it's going to be hanging on for dear life for them. Drewzy, take us through the Sam Darnold experience this year. In general, as a Vikings fan and this year, and does this year success, in which he, they kind of sealed the deal with the 1 seed. That was a hurdle he didn't get over the previous year. But are you convinced on Sam Darnold yet?
I'm not convinced on playoff Sam Darnold. Let's put it that way. And I think Irby's point's a valid one that we have to consider, and it doesn't matter who you like in this game, San Francisco or Seattle. But a key aspect of this is Purdy's been to a big game, and Sam Darnold, as great as he was during almost the entire regular season last year for Minnesota, was mostly, you hate to say it, but mostly a failure in the last couple of games of the season when the number 1 seed was on the line for Minnesota, and then in the playoffs, kind of another dud. So it'll be interesting to see how Darnold responds. I mean, it's weird. I kind of have a soft spot for Darnold. I think I kind of want him just to succeed based on his career trajectory here. But certainly that is a key aspect of the game, is how will he perform on a big stage in a playoff game, and they're already, in the conference semifinals in the divisional round.
Irby, thoughts in general on Seattle? I mean, I think it's defense. They've been good all year. How confident are you in Seattle at heading into, after a bye week and all that?
I think, Dilly, that's a really good question. I haven't been confident. I'm not a Seahawks fan. I wasn't on week 1, week 10, or the second round of the playoffs here. And here's why. I still question their run game. I think it's inconsistent. I think here's the other thing. I really think Saleh is a great defensive coordinator. That was a good get. I think he's smart. He's got enough manpower in the linebacking core. And you're right, Dilly. The 49ers are maybe one injury on the defense of being really kind of sunk, because they're scrambling around. It's well documented on national television from the commentators there, is they're kind of patchwork linebacking core, but they're serviceable and they're good and they're hungry and they'll go and hit guys. And with the scheme that Saleh comes up with, I think that makes it a one-dimensional team up in Seattle this week. And I think that then that's where you're going to see, to Drewzy's point, Sam Darnold struggle. The Vikings last year were great throwing the ball most weeks, except in playoffs, you kind of have to run the football to be successful. It's running the football and playing defense. And we in Packer country know that didn't work out real well against the Bears in the second half, and you know where that got us, the bench.
Start off with the picks here. I do, Irby stole my thunder a little bit on Salah. I trust Salah is going to be able to make it difficult on Seattle. It's always a little hard to project, turnovers and implosions that can happen in a game. So I just think the most likely scenario is Salah keeps it close, has enough to disrupt Sam Darnold early. I just don't know if the Niners have enough on the road, the little shorter week because they're playing Saturday. I think that hurts them a little bit, and I think they keep it close, and I think Darnold will struggle, but Seattle's good enough on defense to not let, if he throws 2 picks and fumbles once, Seattle's defense is good enough. That's not an automatic 21 or automatic 17 for the Niners. So I say the Niners keep it close. I'm picking Seattle to win. On the betting line, though, I would take Niners +7. I would pay for a +7.5 to appear somewhere, so you get that extra hook on there. Drewzy, your thoughts, overall outcome, and of course the betting line outcome.
Yeah, can I just say same and just go? I mean, I think you nailed a lot of great points, Dilly. If it got to 7.5, I'd be all over that. I like the 7 right now. I'm picking Seattle to win the game. I think based on just Seattle's defense and the fact that that's a great point, Dilly. I hadn't considered the Sunday to Saturday thing. Little things like that matter this time of year. I think Seattle's defense wins it, but Seattle's not without their own issues. Irby mentioned it, lack of running game. I mean, Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet leave something to be desired. And outside of Jackson Smith and Jigba, they do lack playmakers. But I do think this time of year, it's probably maybe a lower scoring game. Seattle's defense gets it done, and I'm going to go with Seattle, but San Francisco to cover.
Urbs.
I got the Niners, and I got the Niners for a couple of different reasons, and it starts with CMC and ends with CMC. I think I think Purdy is going to play well. I think that we probably aren't going to see a 49ers Bears game as far as high scoring. I think you're both right on a little bit low scoring, but I think the Niners show enough against a decent defense up there in Seattle. I like the Niners. I'll take the Niners straight up. I think the Niners probably win by 10 here. But I don't think – I think that it's kind of a fool's errands to take the Seahawks here. I like the 6th seed coming out here for all the reasons that I mentioned prior, but most certainly the guy that they can go to if they need 2 guys on every single play. You've seen it before. You could see 8 straight plays go to CMC, 3 runs, 2 passes, and then another 3 runs. So it's not out of the question that the Niners – I think that – 7 is a little heavy from the betting line for Seattle. They haven't shown me enough. I've been on the Niners all season. I'm not coming off today.
So we agree. 3 agree on the Niners covering. Irby's taking Niners outright win, and the upset special coming in early. A little sidebar on why I might have looked like I was chuckling there. I went to the old generic sound effects, because I was going to I wanted to play an exciting noise for the upset pick, and I clicked on cheering, and luckily it didn't play right away because I see on the bottom here it's 36 seconds long. So it would have been a long disruption instead of just like a boink or kaboom sound or something that I'm looking for. So go with that. One last wrap item on the Seahawks. Urbs. We did mention Seahawks run game. I just want to clarify, as a Ken Walker fantasy football truther, I think he's a good running back, and I think they could have a good running game, but they mess around all year, and they Charbonnet this and Charbonnet, and they end up. I mean, they're definitely, especially Walker. He could show up and have 130 yards rushing and break 10 tackles. I haven't seen it all year, so hard to predict that. Moving on to Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Just a reminder, none of this stuff is streaming on Amazon or Prime or Netflix anymore, correct? So go ahead and watch these on regular TV. We got the Buffalo Bills at the Broncos. Little flip flopping in the line. You see Bills +1. I got to pick them here too. So let's treat it as a pick 'em, because I feel a 1-point game, you're basically picking the winner anyway. Allegedly a little sharp action, sharp indicators on the Broncos. I don't know if I'm buying that. Let's start with you this time, Irby. We had a discussion last week about, Josh Jacobs superstar against Jacksonville, who we thought was an overall better team. Good game to watch. Superstar Josh Allen, came away with the win. How do you see this week matching up for the Bills and Broncos?
I'm a big fan of the Bills. As everybody knows on this episode, longtime listeners know that I was all over the Jags, and I think that the better team won that game. In watching it, I think the Jags are for real. I think the Jags are for real for a number of years. But we're talking Bills Broncos today. Why I bring that up is because the Bills, I believe, beat the best team in the hottest team in the playoffs, and they did it fairly, not handily as far as the end of the score, but Josh Allen is the real deal. And I think this is the year that he breaks through potentially. All right. And what I mean by that is he always has looked good. The problem I have with the Bills is their best weapons are two tight ends. Like, I just don't see a lot of weapons outside of Cook. Cook can run the football, and Cook can change a game. He can wreck a game. But Cook, a bad Cook, fumbles twice, but then breaks a 60-yarder. So consistency wise, I'm all over Josh Allen. I have not liked the Broncos all year, and I don't like them today. The Broncos, I think, are a little overblown. What isn't overblown about the Broncos is their defense. Their defense is for real. Their corners can guard, but I think Josh Allen and those tight ends will be an advantage because the corners aren't going to be guarding the tight ends. That's going to be their linebackers for the Broncos. And I think the Broncos' strength on defense is the pass rush, and that includes the linebackers, but they've got a real fast pass rush. But that's where I think Cook can burn them and affect this game. Dilly, I like Josh Allen and the Bills. I think they break through to the AFC Championship game here. That's where I might jump off the Bills bandwagon, but that really depends on our next game that we're going to talk about as well here in the AFC. But I like the Bills.
Drewzy, we know you're a longtime listener, and you can probably foresee me reaffirming Urbs' questions about Denver. Do you see anything different with the Broncos and Bills matchup?
I do. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take Denver. I think now, Josh Allen is the X factor here because he's the best player on the field. He'll be the best player on the field, and he can absolutely take over a game. I'm a little concerned with the Bills for a couple of reasons. Number one, James Cook did not have a good game last game against Jacksonville, and if he doesn't again, and Josh Allen's forced to either carry the rushing load by himself or run for his life, he's already kind of beat up. He got hit a number of times in that Jacksonville game, and I just wonder how much of a toll that's going to take. As Irby was talking there about the Denver defense, I think I jotted it down. Denver has 68 sacks on the year. That's compared to most teams, which are in like the upper 40s. Nick Bonito has 14, but they have like 12 guys that have multiple sacks on the season. I think that matters. I'm going to say, playing in Mile High or whatever it's called now. It's Mile High to all of us. Let's not kid ourselves. I think that's an advantage, and I like Denver in this game to squeak by because I got to admit I'm not super high on Denver. I just feel like they're going to win. I'm like Irby. I'm trying to figure out what makes them really good. Obviously, it's the defense, but I just feel like they'll make enough plays, and maybe with running the ball against Buffalo's run defense, which isn't particularly good. And I think add all that together, and I think it's just enough for Denver to squeak by.
I'm obviously going to take the Bills here due to my lack of belief in the Broncos. I think, Bo Nix as a second-year quarterback, he's looked like some other second-year quarterbacks that we've seen lately. I won't say any names, but sometimes they look good, and then sometimes for the first three quarters they look like dog
Williams.
shit, and then
Wow.
everybody celebrates the 2 throws they make, and like they're the greatest ever. But Bo
Dog shit,
Nix,
Williams.
yeah, bullshit. We're not saying names. We said Herb said it. Anyway, Bo Nix, you know, he runs around probably too much, and he makes plays sometimes. But man, they've had, you know, you just go to the ones that are easy for the viewers to remember. Of course, we remember every game thoroughly and explicitly, but the most memorable one is their comeback against the Giants. They have no business being in the game. They run around, and everybody celebrates because, hey, we're good. And they had a number of games like that. Even the Packer game, you know, Packers noted problems holding on to leads, but you know they're going into the third quarter, well into the third quarter, a couple drives in, down 9 to the Packers, who were proven not to be elite at that point, and you know they kind of have a miraculous comeback in that game as well. I don't think it holds up. I think the well runs a little dry for him because of the Bills' experience. Just as an organization, and of course Josh Allen, I think that's gonna win the day. One little thing on our friend Sean Payton, and I look forward to seeing it. This again comes from a little bit of a fantasy football background too, but we saw it in the playoff game with the Saints. The not interference call in the playoff game against the Rams that one year. Obsession with Taysom Hill for a lot of years. He gets in, he goes right through his bag into his underpants as he reaches into the bag of tricks. I don't know where I was going with that for a second, but, you know, all of a sudden it'll be Tyler Bidet. You know, RJ Harvey will be tearing him up. And then we'll see, oh, we got to get the Tyler Bidet trick plays in there and pass it to the 5th receiver. Pat Bryant becomes the focal point for the third quarter, and nobody knows why. I mean, he's a good player, but it'll go outside of what's working at various times. And I have a little trust in him. I think he's a good coach, and then he takes it too far. And I think the Broncos fall on their face. And I'm going to say they lose by 6. I know we all made our picks basically as a pick 'em, but I'm going to go ahead and say Bills somewhat comfortably get there. A lot of listeners looking forward to the game. You know, again, judging by our comments, Sunday, first game, not prime time, not ready for prime time. We got the Los Angeles Rams traveling to Soldier Field versus the Bears. We got Bears home +4. And we got allegedly some sharp betting indicators on the Rams on the road. I'm going to withhold my little intro here a little bit. New formula. Who wants to go first? Raise your hand. All right, somebody talk. Okay, Drewzy. That didn't work.
Yeah, I'm going to go probably with maybe it's not the obvious pick. I like the Rams in this one. I feel like the Bears have been just living on the edge and living dangerously for what seems like 5 weeks. They, outside of a game, I forget when it was, like week 13 or 14, they beat Cleveland, which isn't saying much. 3 close games against the Packers, that a couple of which they were able to eke out. Then they had a weird weeks, I guess it would be week 18, game 17 against the Lions, which was sort of meaningless at that point. And then, you know, it just seems you can't keep doing that. And I like the Rams. I think about it this way. Who do I mean, Caleb Williams has had a great year, but who do I want in this game? I want Matty Stafford. I just feel like I'm going to bet with, my bet's going to go with the old man, Matt Stafford. And they still got, great playmakers. Puka Nacua is, my goodness, outstanding. And Devontae Adams has had a resurgent. I also like the Rams running game. Kyron Williams just kind of sneaky, always right around like 1,300 yards and a boatload of touchdowns every year. And I'm not going to overthink the warm weather team, warm weather city going to, cold weather. I'll try not to overthink that. I don't know how much it matters, but I like the Rams. But if it's +4, Dilly, I've seen some 3.5, some 4s. I'd probably maybe take the Bears to cover in a close one, but I like the Rams to win.
Herbs, feel free to break down both teams a little bit, and of course end up with a pick or talk it over, ask questions if you're not ready to make the pick.
No, I've got it here, and here's the deal, guys. I'm gonna go back a game here, and the reason that I'm gonna do it is there's 2 cardiac kids in the league that are still playing. And that's the Broncos. That's one of the reasons I don't like the Broncos. That's not sustainable. It's not sustainable at this level against the best teams. It just isn't. And that's the same reason I don't like the Bears in this game. Most of the games that the Bears have played this year have been won, and it's well chronicled in the last 2 minutes of games. And you can't continue to do that. And here's where the buck stops. I've been on the fact long before the Packer Bear game. I said that either team that wins that game is not winning their second, and I'm going to stick with that. But here's why, guys. They're finally meeting a solid team. The Rams are a complete team. They're complete on defense and offense. They've got skills. Drewzy, you hit it right on the head. Their running game it's legit, and they'll probably lean on the running game, which is going to open their strength. And what that strength is, Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua, Henderson, and their 2 tight ends. That team is a very strong offensive team, and you're right, Jersey. I don't say this often. I don't say it often on this show to you or ever in real life. You are right, young man. Stafford is the guy that you want in the playoffs. That offense, and here I'll go another step further. I also want Sean McVay, right? I believe in Sean McVay. I think he's been there, done that. I don't think that the leader of the Bears has, and he has not this job nor the job prior. I will tip my hat to the fella for winning the games that he has had to so far in the playoffs, but this is where it ends, Dilly. And it ends with a Bears team that's inconsistent. I think their quarterback is unproven. I think he's proven the fact that he is hostile and volatile in games, and he'll throw some stupid passes. That pass that Valentine, side note, should have dropped but picked off was 7 miles from the receiver. It was either there was a miscommunication or it was just a floated pass. I'll go the latter. I don't like Caleb Williams. I don't like their running game. I don't like their defense. I like everything that there is to the Rams. And here's the deal, Ben Johnson. You can go and run your mouth in the locker room with your guys and be unprofessional, but I've got a couple of words for you. It was told me when I was a freshman in college when I won a game, Drewzy, if you remember, Mr. Bruckner, after the winner at Marquette, Bruckner ran up to me while I had my shirt off, running around like an idiot freshman year in college. After we won the game, Bruckner said these words to me. Act like you've been there before, Ben Johnson. That horseshit that I saw in the locker room, act like you've been there before, young man.
I'm going to start off here with a little message to Bears fans because they do get a little surly. Those that, especially on the shorts, asking questions. I asked, is Ben Johnson, has he earned another pass on a first half flop? A lot of first half flops. Every game with Green Bay was a first half flop. They've started slow. We know about the miracle comebacks. But my message to Bears fans is, have you watched the show here? It's not just Packer bias. Number one, it's not just Packer bias because we got a guy, I think he'll be in the middle. We don't know how the video changes around. You know who he is, the glasses guy, Urbs. Have you seen him talk about our coaching staff? So that what he just said about Ben Johnson is basically praise. He basically praised him as compared to his commentary on the Packers coaching staff. And, I called out, and I don't even like calling out players by name, but we go after left tackles if they play crappy and offensive line and position groups and assistant coaches. So, maybe not all of it is Packer bias if we come at you, Bears fans, or the team. Number two is take it as a badge of honor. Are we talking about the Minnesota Vikings? Unless we accidentally bring them up in an planned error to get Drewzy to stake his claim to what the subject matter is. Are we talking about the Detroit Lions? We're not talking about them. We're not talking about Washington Commanders. So it's respect. If we're talking about the Chicago Bears, A, it means you're still playing, and B, it's respectful, even if it's criticism. So settle down and get ready for the prediction. There is a clear-cut choice in this game, and it is the Chicago Bears with the 4 points. With the 4 points. With the 4 points. Now, I do. I'm going to filibuster a little bit here before my actual pick because I came ready, guns blazing to pick the Bears to win because against what Drewzy said, I do believe that it matters for the Rams to roll up into a frigid Soldier Field and face the Bears. They could be uncomfortable. And I've kind of gone round and round on this point a lot. What I've come back around to finally is Kyron Williams and Blake Corum. I think they're going to be able to run the ball. They have demonstrated that all year against the Packers when they got out to a big lead. They hadn't demonstrated all 2025 that they could run the ball effectively and consistently. It was some spurts, a game here and there. Josh Jacobs never had 100 yards. The Rams can run the ball, and I think that is going to carry the day, and they will win, and the Bears will be plucky, and they'll be in the game. And I'll take the Bears with the points with my dollar bills, and I'll take the Rams on the money line to win in advance.
Choices. Good choices.
Drewzy, what do you think about Ben Johnson as the slightly more impartial commentator than me and Urbs?
Yeah, he's annoying. I mean, I don't know if he's Sean Payton annoying. I mean, I got some beef with multiple coaches, I feel like, in the playoffs here, but like I'd probably dislike Sean Payton more, but there is something very unlikable about Ben Johnson, but I'm not gonna, just because of some of the stuff that went on. He was probably amped up. Certainly can't take away from what he's done with the team this year. Coaching, his coaching style seems to fit their personnel right now. So I don't have anything personal against him, but I can certainly understand the slightly annoying factor with the, F-bombs in the locker room and stuff. But
yeah, I would say that there's a long list of Bears coaches that came in and said, we're going to beat the Packers. We hate the Packers. We're going to beat whatever. So, we've been through all this before. I do think, it's a good start. Had a good season. Liam Cohen, another rookie coach, has had a good season. I just think when I get negative about him, it's just it's a reaction to the avalanche of superlatives and stuff. Like there's a thing where these guys come in, with fourth place schedules, and they win some games and they have some success, and maybe they'll get it all in 1 year. That happens every once in a while too. But before I'm gonna heap praise on and all that, you got to do it for a couple of years. KOC is he gets a lot of praise too. And, all of a sudden you have a tough season, and it doesn't take long to be right back in the, wait a second, is this guy good again, or was it all smoke? I think Matt Nagy took the Bears in his first year to the playoffs, and he's the offensive mastermind wizard. And, I think it was 2 years later, however long it was, it didn't take long to be like, this guy's a bum. Like, what are we even doing? Go back to being the Chiefs lackey.
Dill, here's the deal, though, and you're saying it without saying it. We've seen this before. He just hasn't been a head coach. We've seen his coached teams do this exact thing before, and this is where the rubber meets the road. I won't tell you that I will ever like him because he's in the wrong city, coaching the wrong team, to be honest. But here's the deal. The Lions failed to get over the hump as well. I say the Bears failed to get over the hump as well, and that's nothing new. I mean, you can be a great here's the deal. Matt LaFleur proves that you can have a really nice career in the NFL and not be real successful in the playoffs.
Moving on. Because that's not the
leave that one alone.
We don't even know if he's back. We got zero information. It's an easy subject to skip this week. Oh, Harbaugh went to the Giants. Come on, guys. We're a week into this shit, and we got the Cardinals have requested 13 coaches for interviews. Okay, come on, guys. You're not hiring anybody. Just wait and take the last one available. Phoenix Cardinals. Last game of the weekend, and we are going to come in possibly under an hour on this one. We got a team we like at the Audible Angle, at least so far. The Houston Texans travel to wherever, New England. It's Foxborough Stadium. Who knows what it's called now? Patriots -3, led by the amazing Drake May, who is the greatest quarterback ever. Irby, start taking us through Texans at Patriots.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty easy game to choose here. New England looks favored by 3 on my screen. Billy, I don't know what you have. There's probably a couple numbers there closer to that, but here's the deal. I've said it, I believe, 4 times. This is the 4th time I've said it. Defense will win in the playoffs. I think that Woody running for the Texans is pretty solid. I think that the Texans defense will give some looks that will make Drake May uncomfortable. Drake May, I think, is way overhyped, way over talked about. He should not be in people's mouths, especially with some of the quarterbacks that are in the playoffs this year. I mean, Purdy should be talked about more than this jamoke. They've played no one. This is the first time that these guys that they're really playing anything of significance. Talk about a dumpster fire of a conference deal or division, Drewzy. You earlier, or maybe that was Dilly that was talking about the AFC East with where the Eagles are playing in was a dumpster fire. So is the Patriots. Who cares? The Patriots are soft. I do like the Patriots coach. I'm a big fan of him. He's a nice coach. I think he's turned him around. Good stuff, but you've turned him around on a really bad schedule. I like the Texans, Dilly. I'll take the points and I'll grab the Texans winning this for all the reasons, but the number one reason is going to be the defense here.
Drewzy, did you get a good look at that barn burner of a game between the Patriots and Chargers on Wild Card Weekend?
Yeah, what a game that was. It's a good point to bring up, Dilly, because I think I agree with Urbs on some points, disagree on others here. It would have been easier to, I think, maybe pick the Patriots in this one if they would have played a little better last week. They left a lot on the table. I will disagree with Urbs that Drake May is not a jamoke. He certainly looks like the real deal. I don't know. I guess I'd take 4,400 yards or whatever he's got, but I do think he didn't play well last week. I mean, the Chargers were pretty awful, so they didn't have to play well to win the game. And for a lot of the reasons Irby said, Houston's defense is the best unit out of all the units in this entire playoffs. I think they're just so elite that that's what's going to propel them to victory. I think it'll be tough for Houston if they don't get Nico Collins back, which I think he's trending towards out. I think that's a big factor. So they'll have to lean on some other guys, maybe Dalton Schultz. Irby talked about Woody Marks. And C.J. Stroud can't fumble the ball. Was it 5 times? I forget. It wasn't pretty. Yeah. Played awful, but the Steelers are garbage too. So I do like Houston to win this game, again, based mostly on their defense and the fact that the Patriots just the last couple of weeks haven't looked very good.
Urbs, quick sidebar here. What is the nature of the word jamoke? Before I entitle this or put up a video that says Drake May jamoke or not a jamoke, is that going to be a YouTube violation? Is there any underlying, is that like a small minority group in Sabisky or anything?
Yeah, it probably is actually, and that we don't have to worry about it because it's not not one of those towns. How about we put it that way, or not one of those states. So I think we're safe with jamoke. It's one of those words that I was told by an old timer way back when. It stuck with me, and now I'm just kind of keeping with it and keeping it relevant here in 2026. I probably learned about this in 1990, so this is a 46-year-old. 46, maybe even before that. I probably in the early 80s I learned about that word, and I'm just keeping it alive, and that was one of the things that was in my contract for the Audible Angle. So you're going to hear jamoke, and I'm going to stick with it. No underlying racial terms.
I might still do a little Google. Oh, well, not Google.
Is there a spelling out there? How do you anyone know how you spell jamoke? I've only heard it.
Jamoke.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll check with Grok on that just to be sure, because you had me I had full belief in it.
Foolish, and ordinary, or unimpressive person.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was a Drewzy. Yeah. Okay. But when you said, yeah, some old timer told me about it once. I was like, ooh, that that might be a red. There are a lot of old timer words we don't use anymore. All right, Drake May, Jamoke or not a Jamoke in this game against the Texans defense. He is a Jamoke. Urbs and I have basically painted ourselves into a corner on the Broncos and the Patriots and in favor of the Texan and Jacksonville, who is no longer around. But you can't turn back now. Great run on the right path. Mike Vrabel probably gets a few pieces, a few more pieces together. I just don't think their offense has enough if the Texans can, as mentioned, avoid major mistakes and turnovers. I think their defense just holds them. And then, Nico Collins, likely, I believe he's for sure out or very likely out at this point. He hasn't been progressing through the protocol. That hurts them a little bit, but they got a couple rookies in there. They got Christian Kirk that can step in as well. I think they'll do enough. We'll take the Texans with the points, right? Yeah, we're getting 3 points there, and we'll take them on the money line as well. Any teasers for future NFL content here before we wrap this one up?
I think it's interesting to kind of watch. I think our episode was pretty good on the coaches. Previous episode. I think that the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be very interesting to see where some of these coaches land. I don't believe any of the big names that we talked about outside of Harbaugh have really landed anywhere. I'm very interested to see what the Packers do, obviously, for obvious reasons. But those things, I mean, the Packers organization and LaFleur are kind of painting themselves in a corner here, Dilly. So that's something to watch in the future.
Last minute thought, Dilly. Interesting when you look at the bracket. It feels like maybe the most wide open bracket we've had in a long time, right? Like we don't have the Chiefs. The Eagles aren't in there. It feels like you could make an argument for a lot of the teams. I mean, it's weird that, Denver and Seattle are the number one seeds. Like that was crazy to think about at the beginning of the year. And so it should be a great weekend of football because we made our picks, but certainly wouldn't be shocking to see some of these games go either way.
Yeah, it's interesting too, Drew. Sorry, Dilly. It's interesting. My picks, and I think a lot of our picks, I picked this 2 6 seeds, a 5 seed, and a 5 seed. I've got all upsets here as far as seeding goes. Dilly, I think you had a few of those. Drewzy went against the grain, took the easy way out, and took some of the higher choices. But some of us with nuts on this call went the other way. But go ahead, Dilly.
Yeah, if we do a quick projection out, boy, it gets real janky in the NFC if the Niners pull it off again, and the Bears hold the line in Chicago, and then you got Niners at Bears. And again, we'll be saying the same stuff. Like at this point, do we now trust the 49ers, and the answer will probably be no. But we'll see. Same thing, I guess the Niners would also travel to the Rams, in which case I would feel pretty comfortable taking the Rams. Same thing on the other side. Imagine it goes chalk and it's Broncos Patriots. It's like, well, we don't believe in either team, so
who cares?
Yeah.
Can't wait for Bears Texans Super Bowl. Woo.
I know who I'll take in that one.
Yeah, that's an easy take there, Drew. I've got Texans with
I'm aware.
Yeah. All right, boys. See you soon. We'll come back and we got to get to Signetti Swagger versus Cristobal. What do we call Cristobal? Just
Cristobal Crush. The Cristobal Crush.
Cristobal Crush. I like Crazy Cristobal, but Signetti Swag, Crazy Cristobal, college football are beginning of the college hoops season. As far as we're concerned, it's time to start heating that up. We'll do some primers on that. I don't know if we're going to cover all 497 Division I basketball teams just yet, but we'll get some highlights. We have some teams, a little Big Ten focus, some couple of Wisconsin upsets recently, and see you soon. Don't forget to subscribe. If you made it this long, for God's sakes, just subscribe so you get notices on the shorts, and eventually we'll send the first 50 subscribers a t-shirt or something.
Peace.
Not really, that's not official, but we'll get some merch and give you a discount. Love you.
Later, boys.